read about some rumors about a week ago, and boy, they've canceled all their orders
Yep.
and they're closing their dealerships, which is not a simple thing to do.
Yeah. No, not at all. And well, it was pretty shocking. I think. Just say to Patrick if he could close his mic, please. There you go. Thank you. All right. It is a shock. It is pretty shocking because you know Jaguar has been doing pretty well. They rolled out their
Yeah.
SUVs. They rolled out some electric vehicles, and now it looks like they're in trouble. This is an article that was in Auto Evolution. There's a lot of rumors about them scaling back operations, and now they're not going to be selling any internal combustion engine vehicles until 2026, and they're only going to build the ones that they have now and sell them between now and 2026. There are similar moves in Europe. They're cutting back on dealers. The dealer network will be streamlined. I don't know. Do you think they will survive, Les?
Uh, it doesn't sound like it. It just sounds like they'll either just quietly go out of business or maybe they'll sell themselves off. The rumor is Chinese company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what about all the people last year, for instance, who bought brand new Jaguars?
Jeremy
Uh,
Clarkson bought one. He just bought an F Type.
yeah, and now you're going, well, wait a minute, where am I going to get it serviced?
Yeah.
What
Uh,
about the warranty?
yeah. Yeah. And certainly it's not going to help future sales of Jaguar.
No,
Hey, there's this expensive vehicle, but I might not be able to get it fixed. So
that's yeah, that's just great.
it just seems bad. Now, of course, it's owned by Tata, who owns Land Rover, Range Rover.
Re- Reputable company.
Yeah. But it just seems. um I don't know. If you don't have product and you're cutting back on dealers, I don't know. I don't know. Uh, you look at what happened in Europe. When I was over in UK, they have MGs driving around. I thought
Hmm.
MG is back. No, it was just sold off to China, and they used the name, and but they used the old logo. Could that be the way Jaguar is going?
Well, I think so. And of course, MG was always like every person's car. Not an expensive
Now they're
heritage type vehicle like
yeah, they're
Jaguar.
compact cars now, made in China.
Yeah.
So
If you own an XKE, you better hold on to it because it's going to be worth even more money in the collector market.
remember they were doing those heritage cars, redoing
Hmm.
them, and all that. I don't know. It's a developing story. We'll have to see where it goes, but it's not good. But you've got a story that is good. You and I talked about the Dodge Charger last week, and we
That's right.
talked about it's going to be electric, and then it's going to be internal combustion, and incredible horsepower numbers. Well, closely allied with Dodge is Alfa Romeo and Giulia, the new one, or Giulia. I know you say it that way sometimes. Um, will be on the same STLA large platform, which underpins Dodge Charger. It's going to
Right.
get a cousin, an Italian cousin. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that on Cruise Control, your on air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We will be right back. So stay tuned to Cruise Control.
Yes, indeed.
Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred and I are discussing the Dodge Charger, but it's Italian platform from Alpha called the Giulia is going to be kind of an Italian version of the Charger, but not not the road burning, you know, testosterone laden
Boy Racer? Is that what you're thinking of?
boy racer. But the Giulia, it's a fine car. It's got great handling, great, of course, steering. Italian cars are famous for steering. In fact, the Italians, I believe, have 60 different terms for steering, for all the elements of steering in their engineering. Um, so so anyway, they're aimed at different consumers, of course, but we'll see what happens when the new Giulia comes out. I believe it will not be uh, a Dodge Charger type Giulia. What do you
Well,
think?
I mean the Alpha CEO Jean-Philippe Imparato says he's in love with the new styling. Now it's the same. It will have a unique wheelbase,
Hmm.
width, and suspension, but it will still be on that STLA large platform, which is the underpinning of the Charger. But it's certainly going to be. I don't know whether these were official renderings or whatever, but I've seen it's more rounded. It's
Hmm.
more. It's smoother. It's less angular. It's more flowing. Um, but anyway, it sounds like it's going to be pretty incredible and a wonderful piece of coach work, right?
Well, have you ever seen an Italian car that wasn't beautiful?
That's true. That's true. So I look forward to it. There will be electric and internal combustion options, probably different than the ones that will be in the Charger. Who knows?
Hmm.
The electric option can be, it could be who knows what. It could be anywhere from 700 to 1,000 horsepower. Who knows?
You know, we're
So,
t- we we're so accustomed now to talking about crazy horsepower
yeah.
that it's just normal.
Yeah, it's just normal. Oh, yeah, that has 1,500.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, um, I for one look forward to seeing it for sure, for sure. Let's talk about a trend that basically internal combustion cars. People were saying their goodbyes, and that was the end of it. Mercedes was rapidly going towards electric cars complete in their lineup, many of which we can't remember the names to because they're just numbers and letters.
Well,
and
they
and that
come
was
and go.
it. They were saying they'll be gone, but now comes an AMG enhanced 3-liter internal combustion engine and electric motor that together combine up to produce 577 horsepower. It is known as the Mercedes AMG E53 Hybrid. They have gone to great extents to make this thing handle. They have reinforced the body shell with numerous stiffening measures, strut braces, and the like. AMG and hybrid specific drive elements, wider front fenders. They're 0.43 inch wider than the E Class. Wider track width axle. Flowing surfaces, molded beads and edges, flush mounted door handles, which is all the rage now.
Oh
And
yes.
rolls on 20-inch AMG alloy wheels and optional 21-inch forged wheels, which must be really nice. It has, oh, you'll be glad, Les, it has the MBUX Super Screen which we talked
Perfect.
about last week, where it is just so big that that there's no room for buttons, and it can be a bit distracting. Uh,
Hmm.
Full variable all-wheel drive, AMG ride control suspension with adaptive damping, AMG high performance braking, standard active rear steering. And then there's special edition one model with extensive equipment, and moonlight white magno exterior paint contrasted by black graphics. There's an AMG exterior package as well. This thing sounds like a monster, doesn't
It sounds expensive.
it? They
And
don't mention that.
they don't. No, obviously this is just they're making this almost a supercar
With
uh,
four doors.
with four doors. By the way, there's the 577 horsepower. If you put it on race mode,
Uh
which is basically launch control, it's 604 horsepower
huh.
because 577 isn't enough. Come on.
No, you're not. How are you going to merge onto roads with that?
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to get down the driveway? So I'm guessing the price of this is going to be just south of 200.
Oh, wow. Okay. I wasn't going to go that high because that's well over an S class.
Sure.
I was going to go in the low 100s, but we're just speculating. It won't be cheap.
No, it
No.
won't be cheap. It won't be cheap to own. You have to remember, that these the more exotic something is, the more expensive just regular stuff is, like tires.
Yeah. Expensive to own, expensive
Yeah,
to have in your life. but uh, but it's a cool vehicle. It certainly is. It's great
it
to see
is.
AMG having hybrid models, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more from them for sure. And this one, of course, has a straight six that has become pretty common. We're going to see it in the new Charger as well with the Hurricane engine. But it's a trend, and one trend, of course, that has gone away is five-cylinder engines, and I want to talk to you about that and see if you remember some of them. Go down memory lane. Five-cylinder engines, they were never completely common, but there were a few of them, weren't there?
There were a few. The Chevy Chevy Colorado.
Yes, that had a
Um,
Vortec
it,
engine that was a
it had a
five-cylinder.
Vortec engine and a four-wheel drive. It actually had a drive shaft going through the crankcase,
What could
through
go
the oil
wrong?
pan.
What could go wrong
Uh,
there?
what could possibly go wrong? And Volvo had one.
Yep, Saab.
That was the one also that they tried to have variable compression ratio, right?
Yeah, remember that? They would
Yeah.
actually tilt the head
But,
like on a
yes.
bellows, like the head gasket had bellows
Yeah.
on it sort of, and they would tilt the head with an actuator and try to vary the compression ratio, which seems like
Yeah.
a hard way to do it, doesn't
Well, it's a recipe for short short life.
it?
But
uh, Imagine if you had like the head on screw jacks, four screw jacks, and it went up and down.
yeah.
That would be
That
interesting.
oh man.
But the problem is the
Uh,
gasket, the head gasket. It has, you have to
right.
have some movement in that. So, ah,
And that the gasket takes an awful lot of stress.
well,
So
we're going to relieve some
anyway,
stress, take a break, and come back. We'll tell you the last remaining five-cylinder on sale right now in the U.S. So stay tuned to Cruise Control with Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We were going down memory lane before the break and talking about five-cylinder cars and trucks. We mentioned Colorado. We mentioned Volvos, Saabs.
Right. Saab.
Audi was a big one. And a matter of fact, the Audi RS3, is the last of the five cylinders. It is the only one available right now in the U.S. It's a 2.5 liter five cylinder. 2.5 liter typically is a four cylinder, but 2.5 liter five cylinder, 401 horsepower, 369 pound feet of torque. 0 to 60 comes at 3.6 seconds and top speed of 155. And power flows through a 7-speed S-Tronic dual-clutch automatic, and it is quattro all-wheel drive. Interesting on the part of Audi to build an engine like that for one vehicle in that configuration, isn't it?
It is. It makes you wonder, is that engine destined to power something else?
I don't know. Or is it the last
But
of its kind?
or is it just they're going to use it up because they've got, they wanted to amortize all of the machining and castings and all that.
Yeah. And what's interesting is it's a 2.5 liter. As I said, the 2.5 liter turbo, you could easily do that with a four cylinder.
That's right.
And, you know, it might sound strange, but 401 horsepower from a turbo four is certainly possible, pretty easily possible today.
That's right. So that little five-cylinder, the pistons are about this big around.
Yes. Like the bottom of a drinking glass, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Roughly.
Uh,
Pretty small.
hey, nice engineering.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't really hear much about the RS3, but it is a very capable performer with that kind of horsepower, 401, and going through all wheels. So interesting stuff. So let's talk about recalls. You have a story about recalls, right, Les? And
Yes, the folks, actually not the folks at Tesla, but the Tesla fans,
uh-huh.
Tesla owners, Tesla devotees are asking NHTSA not to refer to online updates,
Mm-hmm.
like you get on your MSN, or on your Windows every time you shut
Right.
off your computer.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of
Uh,
those lately. Yeah.
yeah, and Tesla has a lot of them. In fact, NHTSA had projected that in the lifetime of a Tesla, it would have 57 of those,
Wow.
which is a lot. And they don't want to have them called recalls, but I understand that logic, but they just want to have it called an update, and that I don't think is fair because some of these things are going to be required, and some of these things are really, really important changes, and you need another word for that. I
Yeah.
don't know what the word is. Mandatory update? How about that?
Yeah, maybe a recall up, not a recall up to, I don't know. I mean, this is going to be a big thing in the industry, and this right now, as you say, it's just a petition from Tesla owners. But you think about it, everyone's going to over the air updates. I mean,
Right.
that's a common thing here. But it has to be more like an update. You can opt out of updates on your computer if you want
Well,
to.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
This could anything. It could be a safety update, which most updates are. Most recalls have to do with safety.
yep.
And I just don't think you should be given a free pass to update the brake system because they don't work under certain conditions.
Right. Right.
That's not an update.
No, that's a recall required work.
That's a
Yeah.
recall.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So I don't know. I,
yeah. I don't know
if
either. It's interesting. I do feel on recalls though, if dealers had mobile techs that could come out to where the people's cars are and do it, if it's that kind of work, like let's say
Yep,
airbags, okay,
right.
that they could replace something simple. Obviously, pulling an engine, they're not going to do it. Although I have seen pictures
No.
of people doing that on the side of the road, on this, street,
So have I. I happen to know someone who did that.
and right in like a
Uh,
parking space on the side of the
and uh, and
street.
and I'm not going to point fingers at the person who did it, but you know,
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, oh, hey, can you move that engine so I can park my car there?
that's right.
You're taking two spaces. Move that
Yep.
toolbox out. Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me, I need to take a part out of my car.
I do feel though, if it's a physical thing that can be done with screwdrivers and wrenches and that type of thing, if they could come and to someone's driveway and say, "Hey, it will take me an hour and I'll
Sure,
be out front.
sure.
Can I just have the keys to the car?" I think more people would do it, right?
Absolutely. They replace windshields that way, so why not, do other stuff?
Yeah, yeah, within reason, obviously. Within, we're not saying if someone's saying pull the transmission out and replace something, that's something you want to do in the shop. But yeah, interesting stuff. Well, what do you think? Let's get some comments from our listeners.
Yeah,
What do you think? Should it be called a recall if it is done over the air? In other words, push to your vehicle overnight, just like your cell phone or your computer? Should it be called a recall or should it be called something else? And if it should be called something else, what do you think it should be called? If it's not a recall
right.
and it's bigger than an update, uh, you know,
Yeah.
so let us
I
know.
my suggestion is mandatory update.
Okay, mandatory update. Let's see. Let's see what our audience thinks about that. Just you can drop us a note on our YouTube page or Facebook page, whatever you like, whatever works for you, and Twitter as well, X, whatever works for you. Let us know. What do you think it should be called? Um, let's talk a little bit about Cadillac, Les. They're doing teasing again. There's such a tease. Um, they want us to know that the V Series, their performance vehicles, are now that division is celebrating 20 years of existence. I don't remember what the first V Series was. Do you?
Uh, I believe the first V series was the CTS-V. Um, I think wasn't it kind of that station wagon thing?
Well, that was probably one of them. Let's do a little check on
Yeah.
this.
Um, and it was a six-speed manual.
It was a six-speed manual. Remember the weird thing about the CTS? Yeah, 2004 Cadillac CTS V, first ever V series, was the one to take Cadillac in a new direction.
Yep.
And it emerged from a mindset taking over General Motors back in the 90s and early 2000s that when Cadillac was struggling against imports from Japan and Europe. They wanted to bring the Cadillac back to the pinnacle. So um, they had an XLR V. They had an XLR V.
Okay.
Remember the XLR? I wonder how collectible those are. XLRs.
I wonder because it was kind of a cool car with that just a two-seater with the folding hardtop and
They had the STS V. Remember the STS? That was sort of their big car.
Right.
at the time. A lot of North Star engines. XLRV used a supercharged North Star engine series, 443 horsepower. So um, they're they've had quite the lineage though. CTSV, just third generation CTSV, the ATSV, which I think was a pretty cool car, small car, very capable. The 3 Series taking on the 3 Series, so a lot of history there. When we come back, plenty
A
more
lot.
cruise control radio coming up. Stay tuned. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We will be right back.
Cruise control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control. We're going to talk about robots now.
Okay.
I know everybody has a robot.
Or
So
maybe they will in the future.
uh, someday, to some extent, yes, I believe robots will be commonplace in many homes.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know to what level they'll be, but who
Humanoid
knows?
robots we're talking about. Ones that look
Humanoid, right?
somewhat
Um,
human.
Somewhat human. Like it probably. Well, anyway, I was going to make a joke about politicians, but I won't. Uh, it's so yeah. So their Mercedes, for instance, is going to have humanoid robots at the factories,
Yes. And this is
and
a real
we have a
thing.
picture here. It's almost frightening, but it's really cool.
Well, is named Apollo, this robot, and Apnic is the company that builds them, and they are supposed to be friendlier looking robots. If you look at Boston Dynamics Atlas, it looks like a giant weightlifter person without a head. This at least is a little
Right.
bit more friendly looking. Like it's not scary looking. It sort of looks like a human with
Yeah.
two
It
eyes.
looks, yeah, it's got two eyes and just this blank face.
Uh,
Again, there's a politician joke there somewhere, Fred, but I won't. Um,
but yes, it is being used by Mercedes and probably others. And this
yep.
is different than like a typical robot that's used. It's just an arm to weld things, or whatever. This is actually going to go and pick up boxes and bring things over and all that. And I find it quite interesting. I think definitely in the next 20 years, this may become commonplace. What do you think? We'll look back at a
I
time and say, really? There was a time when we didn't have robots?
absolutely. I right now I can envision every single fulfillment center for Amazon
Hmm.
being populated by humanoid robots.
Yep. Yep. And they just go get the.
Hardly any people.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Interesting thought there, and it would be interesting to see these things in use and just walk
Now,
up.
here's something for you, Fred. The
Okay.
Apollo robots are exactly my height and weight.
So if you can't make
So
make it next
it
Saturday,
it's come to this,
can they wear that
and
headset
they
or they
I
could wear it,
I
I
don't.
guess. Do they have ears?
And I'll draw a mouth and a nose on it, and you would never know the difference.
Yeah.
Uh,
Eh, I have
yeah,
an interesting story to tell you.
yep.
um, I just think beyond cars, this we will be seeing a lot. It will become
Oh, without
commonplace in our life.
question.
Yeah,
Yep,
and
absolutely.
if not, I think if you don't think so, well, I don't know. I think you're maybe
Well, and this is something we can't get into it, but this is something futurists are really concerned about that ultimately robots and AI will be taking over pretty much everything, and uh, then you have to figure out how do you provide for the human race
yes,
because most humans won't have jobs.
that's right. That is a big.
And whole thing.
And let's face it, just giving them money to sit at home is not the best idea either. I think a lot of
Well,
people like working and find it challenging, and mentally it's
that's
good for
right.
you.
You need affirmation. You need engagement.
Yeah, mental challenging things to
Yeah.
challenge you mentally to get you thinking and keep your mind moving. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's an even bigger problem. But
That's many years away.
now let's talk about this. Um, Cybertruck abuse. This was an interesting article, and I agree with this engineer. This is from Jalopnik. Cybertruck engineer begs owners to stop shooting and abusing their trucks. So Wes Morrill is a Tesla engineer, and he took to Twitter to call for ceasefire against Cybertruck owners. Apparently, they're buying them, they're shooting them, they're trying to set them on fire, they're hitting them with sledgehammers to show how indestructible they are. Well, they still damage them. If you shoot it, it makes indents in the
Yeah.
side. Why would you buy a $100,000 vehicle and do that to it? Just to get views?
Um, I, I just, when I think people are basically all decent, things like this bother me. I kind of equate this with the same kind of person who might mistreat a dog or a cat.
There's something there, and weird. There are people that like seeing things destroyed. I don't know why. I'd rather see
Yeah,
it
yeah,
fixed or modified, or like, hey, let's make it better, you know? Or we found this old rusty engine. I'm going to take it apart and see if I can get it running again, right?
right. But we do that, but we don't destroy things just for the sake of destroying them. Now we've blown up stuff,
By
uh,
mistake.
but the stuff is basically trash.
Yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't buy a Cybertruck and put 10 sticks of dynamite under it.
right. Or shoot at it with a gun, and it's like, yeah. Another interesting Cybertruck story. Uh, so people are experiencing those stains and fingerprints and things. You know what they're
Yep,
using? And this is not an endorsement. We don't have any deal with them. Barkeeper's Friend. I love that stuff. I use it to
I
polish
do too.
windows.
Use it all the time.
If you clean your toilet and you get a scratch in it, you can, put that in there
Yep.
and take out, and it doesn't scratch at all. It's great. It's great for cleaning stuff. Well, they're cleaning their Cybertrucks with Barkeeper's Friend. Now that's good because it doesn't
Uh,
scratch and it gets the dirt off, and yeah,
and you need, I think, more than one can of Barkeeper's Friend to
yeah.
do
Even
the
though those
truck.
cans go pretty far, but I mean that is some of the least expensive stuff that works really well. I think
Yeah, yeah,
if you have a pot that's got some weird stuff on the bottom of it, it will just clean it right up.
yep.
But I found that interesting. So some people are trying to keep them clean, others are shooting at them and setting them on fire.
Yeah,
I don't like anything mechanical. Those websites annoy me where they wreck stuff. If anyone can wreck stuff, can you make
it's
that
easy.
run again? I like the ones where, hey, this truck's been sitting for 30 years in a field and it's got a tree growing on it, but I'm going to try to get it to start and see if I can drive it around. That's more appealing to me.
Absolutely. I mean, that is just the challenge of that is great
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, I agree. I agree. What do you think? Let us know. Let us know at either YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. Do you like to see things wrecked, or do you like to see them rebuilt and made operational again? I always liked the restoration guy that would take the rusty thing he found at
Yeah.
the bottom of the river and restore it. I find those interesting. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control. Don't forget to check out our YouTube page or Facebook page or our X page. It's all there. We like to stream there live as well. You can always check an episode if you happen to miss it. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.
Bye.